All right, we're going to break down what is, without a doubt, one of the most unbelievable, chaotic, and just legendary finishes in the history of American sports. This is the story of five laterals, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and a marching band that kind of stumbled into becoming part of a play that people still argue about decades later. That one line, screamed into a radio mic in just a moment of pure, unadulterated disbelief, it just perfectly captures the madness. That's the sound of all the rules, all the order, and basically all sanity just completely falling apart on a football field. And this is what it looked like, just absolute pandemonium. You've got players celebrating, the band is totally scattered, and the officials are just standing there trying to figure out what on earth they just saw. Honestly, it looks less like the end of a football game and more like a citywide celebration broke out at the 20-yard line. So that's really the big question, isn't it? How did we get here? How did a simple kickoff with only 4 seconds left on the clock spiral into this beautiful, controversial, and utterly chaotic moment? Well, let's get into it. Okay, first things first, we have to talk about the band. How in the world did the Stanford Band end up as, well, unwitting participants in one of football's most iconic moments? So let's set the scene. We're going back to November 20th, 1982. The place is California Memorial Stadium in Berkeley. It is the final game of the regular season for two absolute bitter rivals. And believe me, the stakes could not have been higher. And I'm serious, this was not just any old season finale. For both of these teams, but especially for Stanford, pretty much everything was on the line. So just think about what's at stake here. First, it's the 85th big game, which is a massive rivalry. They're playing for the Stanford Axe Trophy. For Stanford, a win gets them into a bowl game. And for their quarterback, a guy you might have heard of named John Elway, this is his last regular season game, his last chance to really make a case for the Heisman Trophy. So yeah, this game mattered. A lot. All right, now let's jump right to the final, nail-biting moments of the game. Stanford thought they were absolutely certain they had just won the game with a classic last-minute drive. They were very, very wrong. I mean, just look at this sequence of events. Elway, doing what Elway does, just masterfully drives his team all the way down the field. With only 4 seconds left, Mark Harmon kicks what everyone assumes is the game-winning field goal. Stanford goes up 20-19. Game over, right? But then, a massive mistake. An unsportsmanlike conduct penalty forces Stanford to kick off from way back on their own 25-yard line, which gives Cal just this tiny, tiny sliver of hope. So in the Cal huddle, the instruction from Richard Rodgers to his teammates was about as simple as it gets. 4 seconds left, no timeouts. There's only one rule. Whatever you do, do not get tackled with the football. Don't let the game end with the ball in your hands. And what happened next was, well, it was a masterclass in just pure improvisation, desperation, and maybe a whole lot of luck. Let's trace the ball's completely impossible journey down the field. Okay, here we go. The kick is short, a little squib kick, and Kevin Moen fields it. He is immediately trapped, so he pitches it to Rodgers. Rodgers gets swarmed, pitches it to Garner. Garner gets absolutely buried under a pile of 5 Stanford players, but somehow, just before his knee hits the ground, he flips it back to Rodgers. Now, at this exact moment, the Stanford Band, thinking the game is over, starts pouring onto the field. Rodgers finds Mariette Ford, who runs right into the band before just heaving a blind, over-the-shoulder prayer that finds, who else? Kevin Moen, the same guy who started the whole thing, who catches it and runs into the end zone, famously bowling over a Trumbull player for the touchdown. But hold on, was it legal? Stanford's first huge argument was right here, on that third lateral. They were absolutely convinced Dwight Garner's knee was down before he got rid of the ball. And if it was, the play's dead. Game over. Stanford wins. But the TV replays from 1982, they are totally, completely inconclusive. You just can't tell. And then you have this, the second and probably the biggest controversy of them all, that final lateral. Now remember, a lateral has to go backwards, or at the very least parallel to the yard line. Stanford has argued forever that this was an illegal forward pass. And looking at these pictures, Ford throws it from about the 27-yard line, and Moen catches it around the 25. It definitely looks a little questionable. So you've got the band on the field, a knee that might have been down, and a pass that might have gone forward. The referees, my gosh, they had to make a call that was going to live in infamy no matter what they decided. And this right here just perfectly shows the two different universes that existed in that moment. Stanford's case, the play was dead, multiple times. The game was over. But the ruling on the field, in the middle of all that chaos, the officials said every single lateral was legal. They actually flagged Stanford for the band being on the field, and then they signaled a touchdown. California wins 25-20.
You can just feel the confusion from the head referee's own account. He said he got his crew together and saw some pale faces. He asked them, were all the laterals legal? They all said yes. Then the line judge says to him, Charlie, the guy scored on that. The ref later said that when he finally raised his arms to signal the touchdown, it was like an atomic bomb had gone off. And of course, the debate has never, ever stopped. A year later, Sports Illustrated said there were no mistakes. In 2003, ABC Sports concluded it was legal. But then, as recently as 2007, the conference's own replay supervisor, using modern tech, said, you know what? It clearly appears forward and that he would have been tempted to reverse it. This controversy is just baked into the very DNA of this play. So, what is the lasting impact of this one single insane play? It is so much more than just a win or a loss in a football game. It's so famous, it doesn't even need some fancy nickname. It's known simply as the play. Anytime there's a wild last-second finish in any sport, this is the benchmark. This is what it gets compared to. And just look at where it ranks. It's consistently called one of the greatest, most outrageous, and most memorable moments not just in football, but in all of sports history. It even made TV Guide's list of most unexpected television moments ever. That's how big it is. The fallout was just immediate and brutal. Stanford lost their bowl game. A lot of people think it cost John Elway the Heisman Trophy. The coach was gone a year later. The rivalry became even more intense, with Stanford students literally printing a fake newspaper the next day declaring they had won. And to this day, whoever has the Axe Trophy changes the score on the plaque to reflect their version of what happened. You know, even John Elway, who for years was understandably bitter about the loss, eventually came around. He said that each year it gets a little funnier. And that really shows you how time can turn this moment of absolute crushing defeat into a legendary, if maybe still a little painful, memory.
So what was it in the end? A miracle of teamwork and a refusal to give up? Or was it just a series of blown calls and mistakes missed by overwhelmed officials? You know, the truth is, it's probably both. And that perfect, beautiful blend of miracle and mistake is what makes it forever the play.